we are witness to the devastation that happened during these months. We are observing the impact on economy where there is a contraction of 5.2% in global GDP according to Global Economic Prospects. Among all the industries, the industry which had been badly hit is the tourism industry. During the pandemic, when people are avoiding travel to the possible extent and making use of online platforms for meetings, conferences, expositions, etc., there is a reduction of 78% in tourist traffic across the world as reported by the United Nations World Tourism Organization. The World Travel and Tourism Council predicts a reduction in jobs up to 14%, which means about 50 million jobs. Now, the question arises, what all needs to be done in order to sustain and revive tourism industry amid COVID-19? In order to throw light on it, we have with us an eminent scholar and visiting professor of tourism, Dr. B.K. Bala. He had written several books on tourism which have been used by policy makers for framing of tourism policies, especially for the Northeast. Dr. Bala, a 1986 batch IAS, had served as a bureaucrat at various levels, including the top level as Secretary Lok Sabha. Presently, Dr. Bala is an advisor to Government of Nagaland. Now, I request our worthy principal to formally welcome the dignified speaker.
Honorable Advisor to Government of Nagaland, Dr. D.K. Bala sir. My faculty and dear students, very good afternoon to all of you. On the behalf of Government Polytechnic College, Bandipora, I welcome you, sir, with respect. Thank you, sir, for joining us for today's
Now, I invite Dr. Bala, please.
The Honorable Principal of the Polytechnic, Mr. Abrar, as well as all the learned audience for this webinar. As we are all aware, this pandemic is probably, rightly said, the most devastating financial and social crisis of our times, not seen in last 5 decades. It has caused the suspension of all economic activity and caused a worldwide lockdown. What to speak of national lockdowns or statewide lockdowns which happened. All of us have been privy to that. Most affected industry, everything is affected, whole life is affected, but most affected industry is the tourism industry. Some facts about tourism which all of us are aware of. First thing is that tourism contributes more than 5% of India's GDP. Other WTTC, which is the World Tourism Council, as per their estimate in 2018, says that it contributes to 9.2% of the GDP in India. And they have ranked it third in the world out of 185 countries in overall contribution to the GDP, which is no small achievement for a country like ours, where despite all the efforts, there is still much unexploited potential for tourism industry. There has been a very big 20 lakh crore economic package for the overall recovery in various sectors of the economy of the country. But it seems that tourism has not been the priority sector in that package. Maybe because they felt that it will be taking much longer time than other sectors to recover, especially the leisure tourism. And most of the tourism related industries and ancillary industries, they're all based on contact. States like Uttaranchal, Rajasthan, Kerala, Himachal, Goa, Sikkim, and rest of the northeastern states, which depend extensively on tourism for revenues, are suffering a lot and are going to suffer more in the times to come till tourism stages a recovery. Another very important fact about tourism industry is that it employs very large number of people. And not only that, it has got very strong forward and backward linkages with the rest of the sectors of the economy. So if tourism is affected, a lot more industries and sectors are affected. As per an estimate, it employs about 9 crore people, which is 13% of the total employed population of the country. For example, in the related sectors like hospitality, tour operators, travel agents, homestay, arrangement makers, drivers, guides, small traders, artisans, craftsmen, and other service providers which are related to the industry. The forward and backward linkages are with more than a dozen sectors, but prominent among them are agriculture, transport, handloom, handicrafts, and FMCG goods, fast-moving consumer goods. Therefore, it is evident and a given that disruption in tourism industry or sector will cause huge unemployment apart from a loss of revenue. And the very fact that it is going to take a very long time to recover, even if Corona was to disappear tomorrow itself. Policy Federation of the Associations of Tourism and Hospitality Industry in the country has estimated a loss of rupees 10 lakh crores for the industry due to COVID-19, this pandemic. There is a likely drastic fall in the foreign exchange figures. Earned that year was 2,10,981 crores. No small figure. Whereas we have not yet made a very strong effort on thinking about a recovery plan post-COVID for tourism sector. Global scenario is different. EU has been considering, European Union has been considering a tourism recovery plan. Countries like Italy, France, they have given huge euro packages starting from 5 billion to 20 billion euros. And France has called it a Marshall Plan for tourism. South Africa, Indonesia, US, UK, Singapore, all of them are concerned about. Our own government has been paying a very particular attention for the last 6 years to tourism sector. But I feel that the recovery package needs more reconsideration for the tourism industry and its related
प्लीज आप जाओ मेरे
ancillary
कमरे में
industries.
करो फिलहाल हॉल में काम मुझे
Perhaps
बुलाऊंगा
if we just suggest
तेरी बैठो
would
टेबल पे
be,
मेरी टेबल पे
first thing is that this industry is such that it needs a constant flow of credit and easy access to it. So to improve the flow of credit to this sector, tourism must be included under the priority sector lending, PSL, which at present it is not. Secondly, there is a good number of schemes for tourism infrastructure development for the states. But it should be considered to make some changes in these schemes so that states could utilize the funds meant for infrastructure for developing health and safety infrastructure in tourism spots. Because right now, the main problem for tourism is going to be that people will be concerned about their safety. Survival comes first and tourism comes later for the humans. So if they are not sure that the destination they are going to and the mean of transport which they are taking are COVID resistant or prepared for COVID-19 challenge or any such challenge arising in future, they would not have the courage to travel and go for tourism. This will ensure the minimal chances of transmission of disease, whether it is COVID-19 or any such future pandemic, to the community as well as to the tourists. Another thing which can be thought of can be the support to the hotel and restaurants by subsidizing their high fixed costs. See, these facilities, their major problem is that apart from a constantly flowing working capital, they also have very high fixed costs. So unless and until we think of incentivizing by subsidizing their fixed costs, they are not going to survive. Additionally, probably a moratorium on license fees, property taxes, electricity charges, water charges, etc. for a year till they are not able to earn would be considered by the government agencies. There is also a need for linking the e-commerce platforms. Maybe a statewide platform can be developed for a particular state, linking all the tourism spots so that all the cottage goods or souvenirs of that particular state or those tourism sites could be accessed on that. Minimizing the physical contact, but at the same time, making everything available is going to be the new norm of tourism destinations. For tourism industry, it's not that government has to do everything. For tourism industry, it is time to develop some common safety and sanitation standards for hosting and serving the customers, which is the tourist. Ecological waste disposal practices, although prevalent in some of the destinations, they leave a lot to be desired as far as the Indian tourism is concerned. But all said and done, even if the government and the industry took all the steps which have been suggested by me, and these steps are by no means an exhaustive list, they are only indicated. There can be hundreds of more such steps which need to be taken. But even if they are all taken, everything is going to depend upon how far the virus spreads further and when the pandemic will be over. I'll take the questions after the address is delivered. Allow me 5 more minutes. The virus, even if it starts subsiding in the fourth quarter of 2020 or by the first quarter of 2021, tourism sector is going to recover well gradually only. It's going to take years for it to recover to its pre-COVID levels. Why? Because psychology of people is very sensitive to safety and security. That has been the reason of much lesser tourist arrival in the northeastern part of our country, whereas the potential there is the highest because of the prevalent belief among the tourists that it's not very safe and secure. Although it is not true, but it doesn't matter whether the perception is correct or not, perception plays a very big role as far as the tourist going to a destination is concerned. So regaining the trust of the tourist to travel again is going to be a very, very challenging task for the tour operators as well as for the industry. There is also, a possibility of creating a travel and tourism stabilization fund, because the units which are not going to earn maybe for a year or two need direct grants for survival itself. And for industry, it is going to be redefined, refocused, and change the game plan going forward. We have to probably concentrate to begin with on the domestic tourists. This is what Italy is going to do. This is what most of the European nations are planning to do. Because international travel restrictions will take long time to ease, and international tourists is very sensitive. They are not going to venture out of their homes and their countries for some time to come. So domestic tourist becomes our focus. Maybe the global conferences and conventions also can be another area which the industry can focus on. So consumer preferences have to be now realigned with the requirements of the industry. And it has to be a community-centric approach for the purpose of sustainability of tourism. Already there has been a lot of talk about community-based, community-centered tourism, where, the tourist goes to a destination not only for seeing some historical buildings or for, seeing a nature, but to live with the community for getting a lifetime experience. Some of it has been developed in some of the destinations, like few destinations in Northeast offer that. And in Gujarat, in the run of Kutch, there is a village called Hodko village, where they have created outside the village a destination or a place for the tourists, where they get to live with the community and see the life how the community is living. So that is probably going to be a focus area. And last but not the least, COVID-ready tourism destinations is going to be the mantra, is going to be the key word. All is not bad in this calamity. Some of the things, which have happened, although it is a big loss of revenue, big loss of employment, for some people it is a almost, survival question. But there are some positive things which have happened. And one of them is, most of our tourism has been concentrated in few places which are overcrowded. It's also called over-tourism. Without a regard for the tourism carrying capacity, some of our famous hill stations like Mussoorie, Darjeeling, Dharamshala, etc., they have been, almost fully packed or packed beyond capacity during the tourist seasons. And now suddenly they are breathing. They are having a breath of life. They are getting some fresh air. Maybe, these places which had become overcrowded now need to be regulated with the help of prior registration, travel permits, or tired tourism tax, so that a regulated number of tourists will go there. And there is a need to develop more and more number of tourist destinations which are community centric, more and more villages where people can host tourists and give them an experience, lifetime experience of the way they live. That will be an excellent thing which has been talked about so far but has not happened in a big way. Emerging destinations, when they take away the rush of tourists, so there will be a fresh breath of life for overcrowded destination and they can reinvent themselves. I think for tourism, when we are thinking of providing a place to the tourists for experiencing a lifetime experience, our focus should be to develop a better place to live for the hosts. First, better living comes and then comes hosting the guests which have come to your village or to your town. So better places of living is going to be another fundamental. As I said, tourism is, linked with many other sectors. For example, some figures are mind-boggling. Branded and organized hotel sector annual revenue in India is $5 billion, 3,800 crores of rupees. Restaurant industry in India annual turnover is $53 billion, which is more than around 4 lakh crore rupees. Air transport industry and related supply chains, they employ more than 14 to 15 lakh people, which get rendered unemployed because of the travel restrictions. Last but not the least, it's a desire as well as a mission which should be for the industry and for all of us, that the India's tourism potential, because of its innate culture of hospitality and immense natural beauty of its destination, is unparalleled in the world, but it remains grossly and severely underutilized. So, these are just few thoughts which I have shared with you since I was asked to speak on the topic. Rest, I think now we can, open the room for discussion so that more and more ideas can evolve. With this, I hand over to Abrar.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir, very much for sharing your valuable thoughts on the theme.
I am not able to hear you. Your volume is little less.
Okay, just a moment. In case if we will get disconnected, please log in again, because sometimes it may get by default disconnected. All the participants are requested to log in again using the same link. Is it audible now? Am I audible now?
It is audible to some extent. It is audible.
Right.
No issue. I think you can, basically take the questions and,
Yes.
read them out to me so that I can answer them properly.
Right.
Or you can put it on the chat box, which is in front of me, and I can reply to them verbally.
Right. So now the topic is open for discussion. So anybody who wants to ask any question can ask the question for further clarification, because the expert is available and you can get your clarifications now.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
I have a question, sir.
Okay. So you
So,
you can ask
what
the
would
question.
be the revival strategy?
Okay, continue.
Yeah, please.
Am I audible, sir?
Yeah, you are audible.
Yeah, you are audible.
Am So, what can be the revival strategy for Kashmir after COVID-19?
Okay.
Strategy for Kashmir. See, I hope you got
Yes,
some
sir.
of the general threads from few ideas I gave. As far as the steps to be taken by the government are concerned, they remain by and large the same, because everywhere the units which were involved in running the tourist industry, they are all without any revenue, and they cannot survive forever if they have to pay to their employees, or if they have to pay all the fixed charges like electricity, water, property rent, lease rent, license fee, renewal, etc. So there needs to be a moratorium on the charges and taxes for all the units, as well as there needs to be a grant to be given for these units, and for providing working capital there should be a possibility of priority sector lending by the banks or by the NBFCs, because unless and until money is provided to them during this tough time to survive, they will close down, and there will be no one when the tourist sector starts coming in maybe a year later. So survival of these people who are involved in tourism industry is essential everywhere, including Kashmir. And for the industry, there is a need that, number one, they have to ensure that they have got COVID-free destinations available. Now, for example, take shikaras. Now, since it is a closed environment, you go and live in that. Everyone who comes there would need to be absolutely sure that while they live in that closed shikara for 1 day or 2 days or 3 days, they do not get infected. So same will be the situation for rest of the experiencing places. People are going to be very scared going to hotels or any such backwater places where they feel that the chances of infection are high. So first of all, state government and the industry will have to go for an awareness campaign that they have taken sufficient measures, or they have established a protocol for hotels, for restaurants, as well as for for example shikaras, or for various guest houses or paying guest houses, breakfast places, where basically they have put in a protocol which takes care of the safety from the corona as well as from any other infectious or communicable diseases. Safety and security is going to be a big concern. Secondly, they need to advertise, or they need to tell once the state is free of COVID or is controlled in all respects of corona that it is free. So first, this has to be there to attract the tourist. Only then something can happen, and this is not going to be different in respect of Kashmir. It is going to be the same as it is for rest of the tourism destinations. I hope I have answered your question, but in case you have any other query related specifically to Kashmir, please do let me know.
Okay, any other question? I think
Yeah, there is, another question which has come on my chat from Khalid Mehraj. It is, sir, in your opinion, do you think the role of government in reviewing the tourism sector of J&K is far bigger than usual, particularly given the fact that the sector remained completely shut down from July 2019 and the present economic scenario of the country? Yes. See, as I said, that those states which depend, hardly there are 8 or 9 states which extensively depend upon revenue from tourism sector, and J&K is one of them. It's a known fact. So all the steps I have mentioned and many more which the government thinks necessary need to be done urgently in all these 8 or 9 states, including J&K. And J&K takes a priority because it is as good as now being administered by the central government. So it becomes kind of priority where the things can be implemented very fast. And also the fact which you have mentioned that it has been even in a complete shutdown much before Corona came. In 2019, 6 months before Corona struck rest of the world or the nation, it was in a kind of a shutdown. So people who are dependent upon tourism industry, which is a sizable population, must be suffering very badly, and they must be provided means of survival during this time till the tourism picks up. I agree with you. You have asked as part B what should be the strategy of the stakeholder. See, I have already told you the steps which the government can take, the state governments can take, the administration can take, and also I have mentioned what the
yes, Bala sir, you can reconnect because it was disconnected. You please reconnect. You click on the same. Okay, sir.
sides. No, it is not true. At least in Delhi, there is a lot of, sponsorship. For example, Birlas, as you must be aware, have taken over the Red Fort. And, even, this Pragati Maidan is going to be, corporate sponsored, which used to be earlier government funded. And there are, many more sites which have been actually, taken over by corporate sponsorship. Maybe in case, in Kashmir, some of the heritage sites have to be taken up for, corporate sponsorship. State government can take up, with various corporates independently. They should be, I think, proud to contribute to this. Anyone can write to, these corporate houses, the email address of your chairman is available. And why wait even for the government? All of you can write to the corporate houses. I think Abrar can help you with the addresses if you are unable to find. and you can write giving details of the heritage site and importance of it and the number of visitors or the footfalls, and you write to any of the corporate houses. And once you have written to a corporate house, ask Abrar to send me a copy of that letter, and I will also take up with that corporate house. We as citizens have an equal role in improving the life in the nation and in the state. Why wait even for government to take cognizance of it? It's a very good suggestion which you are giving, but it is already being done at most of the places. Even in Gujarat, many of the places, Maharashtra, some of the places I know, but then my travel is limited. I don't know all over the country what is the situation, but especially
Excuse me, sir.
Places have
Excuse
not
me,
been
sir.
taken up. Yeah,
Hello.
please.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you are audible. You can.
Warm welcome, sir. आपको. Good afternoon, sir. I, Arifa Habib. Sir, but
Yeah.
this policy is not being implemented in Kashmir. As the Kashmir is taken, considered as heaven on earth. But this private sponsorship is not considered in Kashmir. Sorry, sir. Sorry to say this. If
Yeah.
this is present in Delhi or other, particularly in Kashmir, this is not considered in Kashmir. As government of India is this in our state, various beautiful spots are present in our
Yeah.
whole state, especially in Kashmir Valley.
Yes.
But I think that in most particular areas like the development of the roads, accessible points, development of heritage sites, create experiences, not sighting areas, and development of sustainable goals. These types of points are lagging in Kashmir Valley.
Right. Arifa, this is what I am saying, that this is not necessarily the duty of Government of India. This
Yes, sir.
can be done by any one of us. For example, you as Arifa Habib or Abrar, who has arranged this conference and invited me over, I am glad that he called me. I am getting a lot of inspiration from all of you. We can write to any of the corporate houses. For example, we can write to Mukesh Ambani that this is what is available in Kashmir, this is a heritage site, and we want you to take over its upkeep as well as maintenance, and they will be too glad. I think this need not wait for Government of India step. Of course, the tourism ministry or the tourism department in the government of J&K should have done it, but if they have not done it, doesn't matter. Let us do it. So I am exhorting all of you who are the participants in this, take one site each which you know about. It should have some footfalls, because a site which is very good but nobody visits there will not be worthwhile. But I am sure, as you are rightly saying, in Kashmir at least there will be 500 such sites in the whole of Kashmir which can be taken up for corporate sponsorship. Abrarji, I request you that you kindly note the suggestion given by Arifa and you help us and get a letter written by any one of these participants or from your side to a corporate house. Send me a copy, and I assure you that 1 year later, when we come again for hosting this conference, we would have achieved something for Kashmir. This is a doable thing.
Right, sir. We can have a
Thank you, sir.
discussion
Thank you
on
very
it
much.
later.
Please.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much, sir. My second question is, sir, these water bodies present in Kashmir Valley or outside this Kashmir Valley, they are also, दिन ब दिन क्या होता जा रहा है कि they are decreasing in size. And the government of India is, मुझे लगता है कि उनको शायद इंटरेस्ट ही नहीं है किसी भी जगह अगर देखा जाए, अगर वाटर बॉडीज को अच्छे तरीके से मेंटेन किया जाए, they can also be a beautiful tourism spots. उनके लिए भी हमें ये सब सोचना चाहिए. फॉरेस्ट हो, वाटर बॉडीज हो, जैसे कि स्पेशली इन बांडीपोरा डिस्ट्रिक्ट
जी.
there is Nala Madhumati.
I know.
That water body is not fully developed.
Right.
So that the tourists can come there and can enjoy, can entertain themselves with
Right.
Yes, sir.
Absolutely. See, as far as inventory of tourism spots or such places which can have community-centric tourism, it needs to be. See, Government of India has got only a Ministry of Tourism housed in there, and there will be not more than 30-40 officials there who monitor the sending of the grants under certain schemes for infrastructural development in various states. But the inventory of the spots, which are the spots, which are the future destinations where things can be developed, which are the communities which can be involved, which are the forests, which are the lakes, which are the water bodies, this needs to be either done by the state government or by the institutions themselves. You will be surprised. I did my doctorate in tourism from the Department of Management in Jammu University. And they have a small tourism department there. Professor Aima was my guide, and I was the only one who has done in the country the doctorate on sustainable tourism strategies for Northeast. Of course, I concentrated on Northeast because I was serving there. I have lived there for more than 20-25 years. But I was surprised at that time that the inventory, even regarding Kashmir, is available here and there in some books. But it's not. So again, my suggestion will be that Abrar Sahab ki agar jo hai, if it is possible, all these people, if they can, give a write-up, not only this community which is listening to me, but if you can involve more people and 1 or 2 pages each on a prospective or a futuristic spot, water body, forest piece, or a tribal community or a village community which can host tourists, if you can send me, I can, compile it into a book form or a document form and reach it to the Government of India. I can put it in the newspapers. I can reach it to various foundations which can fund these spots. We need not wait for, government to, recognize this, because governments have got too many businesses. But we can do it. Arifa, Appa, you are giving fantastic suggestions. I think this should be taken on board.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much, sir.
That's
Sir,
right, sir.
It was nice to talk to you, sir.
It's nice
So,
for me as well.
Thank you, sir.
Now we have another Sakib Vani wants to ask a question. He had raised a hand for a long time. Sakib, you can ask question.
Ji.
Yes, Sakib, you can ask a question.
कोई और
Sakib had raised a hand. Sakib, am I audible to you? You can ask the question. Because your hand...
Yeah, you are audible to me?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. As we are aware about the present situation, due to the global pandemic, thousands of people lost their jobs, which are directly or indirectly related
Yes.
to tourism and hospitality industry. Sir, as a tourism student, after completing their diploma, how can we ensure we will get jobs in tourism industry?
Okay. Abrar, could you hear the question?
Yes, actually he wants to...
It was regarding the jobs?
Yeah, he is concerned that people are losing jobs, as I had also quoted the figures that about 50 million jobs are getting affected as per WTTC statistical data. So he wants to know that if there is such a big effect on jobs and we are pursuing career in tourism, so how is our career secured now?
See, basically, it's a problem. It's a problem in the sense that not only, tourism workers, but you have seen on the roads, the migrant laborers, simple laborers which have been going their homes so that they can survive because there was no work available during the COVID situation in the cities. It's a problem. Now the people who have returned after leaving their jobs during COVID to the villages, they will be able to get, their survival funding under MG Narega. Because Narega is what? Narega is nothing else, but it is a guarantee for, employment for 165 days or so during the year. And it is meant for every unemployed person. So they will be able to survive, those who have reached their homes, because cost of living will not be a concern there. Now, for normalizing the situation, as I said, every industry has to set up a stabilization fund. And this stabilization fund is different from working capital or fixed costs or, taxes. I was talking about giving direct grants for survival to the workers employed. So that needs to be, industry specific. And at present, there is no such thing. And it should be done. I feel that the government will be taking it sooner than later, because tourism is, one thing they will not be able to ignore. But rest of the world also has taken note of it. And that's the only one way, giving direct grants for survival or some kind of unemployment allowance for the people who have not left for villages or suburban areas where they live and are still stuck up in the cities or the towns where they are working. So for their survival, some kind of, arrangement by the industry through the government has to be done. I agree.
Anybody else? Any other question?
Yes, sir.
Okay, you can ask.
Sir, I am a tourism student, Shabnam Bashir. And sir, I am working on a project for exploring some places for tourism destination in my district, Bandipora. So sir, I need your suggestion, because these places are hidden from people.
Right. I was, telling you that in case it's very nice that you have a project, but any one of you, if you would like to bring in the limelight any such place which you feel has got a lot of potential. See, any place which needs to have tourism potential, what it should have? It should have people there, a community living there. And the community should be willing to host the tourist, right? And, there should be some kind of a nice experience available in that place, like a water body or a forest or a hill.
Yes, sir.
So that, when a person comes there, he is not only able to meet the people, he is able to go, let us for a trek, He can go and take bath in the river. He can, see any folk dances or can listen to any folk songs if there are any such traditions in that community. All such, tourism experiences which can be given to a tourist should be listed out. There should be an assessment of, the things which will be available. I mean, this can be very simple things. For example, in a village like Haryana, which is famous for dairying, has got cows and, buffaloes. So, milking of the cows and buffaloes in the morning being done, a tourist is allowed to do that, can be a great experience for that person. But all such things need to be listed down. So once, that thing is ready, this is the environment, this is the place, this is the community, these are the experiences which can be available to a tourist who comes here, then what is the infrastructure required? Infrastructure basically required at any place is an interpretation center where a trained villager will tell the tourists about that place and its historical importance or its cultural importance. And some tour guides from the village itself, which have been trained to address them nicely, to take them to, their place. And then, some of the village homes should have nice toilets, hygienic toilets. it doesn't take much to create a Western toilet. So, but they should be able to host them in a nice home, which is hygienic, which is COVID resistance, or which is disease resistant, and they should be able to guide them to the experiences in the village or within that spot. So, if all this is available, you don't need government here. We don't need anyone else here. So you list out or you write down, that write out. I'm saying send me enough material. I'll bring it to life. Where is the problem? And once it goes to a tour operator, they know about these spots. They themselves will list and develop. Don't worry about that. Tourism, most of the countries has not been developed by the government. Mind well. Government only provides the funding, but by and large, it is developed by the tour operators and rest of the agencies which invest into these destinations. Only a tour operator discovers a new tourist product, assesses its shelf life. See, every product has got a shelf life. Nothing can go on indefinitely. Carrying capacity, if it exceeds for 10 years, that product is finished. Destination is finished. Nobody want to go there because experience has become bemani. It has lost its luster. So they assess it and they develop it. So you bring it to my knowledge, if nobody is listening. I promise on this dais through Mr. Abrar that I will bring to life, I'll get them published and I'll get it known to the rest of the world that Kashmir has got such wonderful places. And of course, credit will go to you. Such and such brought this thing to the notice of the people. I'll be too glad.
Thank you, sir. So,
anything else, Abrar?
So
I would like to show them, some of the books which I have written so that they can benefit. Give me a minute.
Yeah, surely.
This is a book on Kashmir, problems and solutions. Of course, hundreds of books have been written on Kashmir. It is a small booklet. But just like me, it is, blunt and frank and very nice. I hope you like it. It is published by Manas Publication, but it is available on Amazon. You can check up. If you face any problem, you can let Mr. Abrar know. This is a nice book. Small booklet. Will not take you more than a day or two to read. This is my first book, which I wrote after taking my doctorate in tourism from Jammu. This is Sustainable Tourism Development of Nagaland. There is another book, which I don't have the copy at present, which is Tourism Potential of Northeast. If any one of you is interested in visiting Northeast, this can, provide you an impetus. This was the book I wrote. These are all small observations. Very nice observation. It's a small booklet of, 150 pages by Prabhat Prakash, and it is Future of India. And this is also available on Amazon. This is a book which I wrote about world economic crisis in India. Of course, it was written, 4 years back, and it was published by IMR Media. But I had not visualized at that time that this pandemic will be, causing the worst economic crisis. But it was in response to the 2008 crisis. So it has got a history of all from 1929 onwards. All major crises. Why do they happen? Why we are not prepared for them? It is for laymen like you and me. I am not an economist. So any of these books, if you like, you can, purchase. If you find any problem, let me know through Abrar. I can get you sent the book by the publisher. Abrar, that I think sums up the session.
Yes, sir.
Anything more?
It was very nice to hear you, and it was a very great learning session for all of us. So the suggestions, the strategies that you offered during the session, like that tourism should be put in a priority sector now because it has been hardly hit by the pandemic. And as you suggested that there should be travel and tourism stabilization fund, that is the need of the hour for the survival and revival of tourism after the pandemic. And also, as you suggested about regaining...
Yes, stay safe and healthy, all of you.
Okay.
It was nice, and I am grateful to the organizers for arranging such a nice session.
Very, very thank you to you, sir, and all the participants for their listening the session. It is a lot of enthusiasm. So with this, we conclude. Thank you once again.
Thank you.
हो गया खत्म।
हाँ।
अब्बू अब्बू मैं ये वाली वॉच पहनूं कि ये वाली?
आप ये वाली
ब्लू वाली? ओके।